Sure, pass.
Okay, so signing into Canvas here. Rubrics, I love rubrics personally. I'm a big rubric person. I think it really clarifies expectations both for the student. It keeps me organized. It makes sure that I am fair when I grade students. So I personally love them. They're a little bit of work to create, but then once you have them built, you can use them forever, and you can, change them a little bit. You can change them from course to course, assignment to assignment. So it's a little bit of work on the front end, but they are fabulous once they are built. So I'm just going to pull up my sandbox class here. It is a menu item here. You might have hidden it, but it does appear on the Canvas Global menu over here under Rubrics. I don't really like doing it there. So this would give me an at a glance of like what rubrics I have in this class and like, which ones there are, and I can edit them and I can add a new one over here. But I don't really like doing it here because you don't have as many options as you do when you're attaching it to an assignment. So it's not wrong if you want to do it right here. But personally, I create the assignment first and then I add the rubric to it. And you can add rubrics to anything that's potentially gradable. So it could be an assignment, it could be a discussion board, it could be a quiz, even if you maybe like have an essay question in your exam and you want to put a rubric in there for what you're looking for. So anything that's worth a grade in Canvas can have a rubric attached to it. So I'm going to go to my assignments list and just grab a random assignment. I'm certain I have. We'll take this one for fun. Oh no, this one's already got a rubric on it. Never mind, let me find a different one. We'll do a discussion board just for fun. No, I think this one does too. Yep, it's got a rubric. All right, let's just make a new one. I make so many new assignments and then like I never delete them, and I should be more organized and I'm not. So maybe this is their, I don't know, final paper assignment. Obviously I put in the assignment details. I'll make it 100 points. If you group them, you can put it in there. Make it points, doesn't matter. Just a few things here. All right, let me save it. To put the rubric on, it does not need to be published. So if you're working on like building the assignment and building the rubric at the same time, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to publish it until everything is ready to go. And when you publish the assignment, that also publishes the rubric. So as long as you keep rubrics hidden in your navigation menu, they won't be able to get to it ahead of time. And so I made my assignment. It's very boring. To put the rubric on it, I could just use the add rubric button down here. Now, if I had already created one and I was like, okay, I want to pull that one I used last fall over onto this assignment, you could use the find rubric utility. So let me show you how that works. Say find a rubric. Mine's a little bit different because I have the whole university here, but like it loads all of your courses off to the left, which is way too many for me. So maybe like it was this summer class that I had. You can see I have 5 rubrics in this class. I can click on here and then it has the different assignments that I had rubrics available with. Like, oh, no, it's not that class. I can, choose a different one if I wanted to. And then once I find the one that I want, so let's just grab one for fun. Maybe it's this one. I can kind of look it over quickly if I like. But if I'm sure that this is the one I want, I can just say use this rubric. And you can still edit it. So maybe the assignment's still not exactly the same as you had before. So you're like, okay, I want most of it. You can use this rubric and then you can make changes. But if you make changes, the only thing is you have to change the name, which is no big deal. Just call it like, rubric 2.0 or something. So once you create them, it's very easy to pull them in and attach them to new assignments from the past, and they save, indefinitely. So these are all the courses I've been affiliated with that had rubrics involved, and of course the entire university. So once it's built, it's very easy to reuse and edit going forward. But I'm going to pretend like I don't have any. This is a brand new assignment and I want to make a rubric for it. So let me X out of this. You do need to give it a title just because it's saving it like a document. So I will call this Sandbox Final Paper Rubric. Any type of name will do. And then, as I said, you can save them under different names as you go through it. By default, it's giving you a criteria to kind of get started with. And then you'll add more criteria as you go through. And it's also giving you points personally, I'm not a big points person, especially when I'm grading things like papers or PowerPoints, presentations. I don't really want to quantify exactly what their grade is going to be because most of my papers I grade on a letter grade scale, right? Like an A minus, etc. So personally, I usually remove the points from the rubric and then I just give them the feedback. I've had instances where it's like, well, why did I get 6 points on this, title instead of 7 points? And it's like, I don't know, like I can't split hairs that much. But you can keep it on there, but just know that you can take them off too. And then this just giving students feedback, like you were excellent on APA style, you were strong in your argument, you were weak on your references. So it still justifies the grade you give them, and it still gives them feedback to guide their work, but you're not splitting hairs over points. But some people are very quantitative. They're very, very specific in their grading. So they like to have the points on there. So I'll leave them on for a second and just sort of show the difference between the two. You need to start by building a criterion. Doesn't matter which one, but you edit it here. We'll call it, I don't know, APA style. It's always an easy one. You can put in a longer description if you want to, but you don't have to. You could say like, maintained adherence to APA style. It's pretty straightforward. You might not need to. And say update criterion. You have the option to make this a grade range. So what that would mean is, let me give a few ratings first, and then I'll explain what a range means. By default, it's going to give you 5 points for full marks and 0 points for no marks. It's kind of the British form of grading. The Americans, we don't usually use marks. We usually use points or just categories. So I can change all of this. It's completely customizable. So I can make 5 points. I'll say, excellent or something like that. And down here, you can constitute what qualifies excellent, or you can leave that blank. You can just leave it as just the word excellent. Strong adherence to APA style if you want. And then like 2 ratings is not really enough. You want a few more. And so you use the little purple plus button in the center there to add a couple more categories in. Canvas is trying to guess how many points this is going to be worth, because you start with 0, you went to 5, so like maybe in between 3. But this is editable, so you can make this 4. And you could say, very good. Again, give it a description if you want, or leave it off. And you just start building it like that. So I'll go 3, we'll say satisfactory. Okay, I'm not going to go a little bit further because I want to explain the range. The range means that if I tick this, it means anywhere from 5 to greater than 4 points is excellent. So maybe you want to give them like a 4.3 or a 4.7. Those would all still be quantified as excellent, but that's where you're getting really technical in what constitutes each criterion. And you can do it with more points too. So it's like 3 to above 0 is satisfactory, and I could decide, okay, it's not a 0, it's not a 3, maybe it's a 2. Somewhere in between, if you like ranges with your points. Or you can take that off and just like excellence 5 points, very good 4 points, so on and so forth. And we'll say unsatisfactory for this last one. And it's going to bother me that there's not 2 in the center, so I'm just going to add 2 more. We'll say fair and weak for the last one. So that's all for one criteria. So this is all looking at APA style. I could decide how many points the student is getting, or as I said before, I can remove the points entirely and they would just get the categories. You were strong, weak, fair, whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter, it's totally your choice. But obviously you're not going to just grade them on APA style. So you want to put a few more things in. So when you add a new criterion, Canvas is giving you 2 options. You can create a new one completely from scratch and then put in the categories, the points, the different ratings and all of that like I just did. Or I can duplicate this one I made from APA style and then just change the criterion. So if it's still going to be, what did I have, 6 categories? I might as well just duplicate it. And instead of calling it APA style, I can call it something else like formatting. Formatted to assignment directions. I don't know, whatever you usually put in there. And so that kind of makes your life a little bit easier if you just start duplicating your criterion. If you know that they're all going to be worth the same categories, you can just keep duplicating and then changing the names a bit. You'll notice that it is building towards the points. Now I made this assignment, I think, worth 100 points, but I'm only up to 10 here. So I would have to do this 10 more, or not 8 more times, or Canvas would yell at me like, hey, you're gonna have to change your assignment to be worth 10 points, or you're gonna have to change your rubric to be 100 points, but you can't have both. So that's another reason why I usually take the points off, because, you know, maybe I only have 7 criterion, but it's going up to, you know, 100 points. So you have the option to do either one. So a few more options you have here. Free-forming comments when assessing students gets rid of all of these ratings entirely. So I can keep my criterion APA style, but then I don't have these. I just have a space to type in comments. And then I can get rid of, so formatting. I could leave that criterion, but this would all disappear. And I could just use this to put in comments and then type in my points. So it kind of tells them what they're being graded on, but doesn't quite give them like what your categories are going to be broken down to, what constitutes each rating. So that's sort of how you grade, but I can take it back off if I want to. So that's what free-form comments is about. They're just seeing the criteria, they're just seeing the space for the points, but they're not seeing the ratings in between. Outcomes is a little bit interesting. We're not really using outcomes yet university-wide. I'd like to see us use them a little bit more, but you need to define your outcomes first, and then you can determine whether and how this ties to them, how this connects to your outcomes. So you can see outcomes is a totally different menu option here. And this is where you kind of load in your course outcomes, and then you could attach this assignment to an outcome. But that involves like putting another one. And then you can also, you know, once you do load them in, you just find the outcome that this would work for. Like I had a couple in here just for fun, like constructive of practice. You know, did it meet it, exceed it, does not, whatever the case may be, and what constitutes mastery. So if you take the outcomes that you've written out in your syllabus and you load them into outcomes first, you can then attach them to the rubric. I feel like we're not really doing that much in the university. I'd love to see us do it more, but similarly, your department can load in outcomes too, but I don't think many have done that yet. All right, so I'm gonna take the points off. Oh wait, I'm gonna show a few more things. Use this as rubric for assignment grading. That means that like as you click through the ratings, it is totaling up the score, and that's what the student is going to be graded on. So it's probably why you're doing it. But you can also hide the total score for assessment results, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room. If like you're totaling up to like an 86, but you want to give them the B plus, or you want to give them the B. So you can hide the total score from them. So they'll see how many points they got for each criterion, but they really won't know how that constitutes to their grade. So you just gotta be a little careful because it's a little delicate and you'll probably have some questions, but it is an option for you. And then if I can take those off and I can create the rubric. So there it is. If I did something wrong and I screwed it up, I can absolutely just click on the pencil icon to edit it. Students see this as well. So once this is published and the assignment is published too, it's visible to everybody. So they know what's expected of them before they start the assignment, before they submit the assignment, which is kind of nice. Everyone's kind of on the same page. I will publish this one so you can see what it looks like on the student end. So if I'm a student in Rachel's class, I know I'm doing this final paper, there would be more instructions here. They can't actually click on any of this, but it's like in a read-only mode. Okay, like this is going to be the rubric that I'm graded on. So is there any questions on creating a rubric before I talk about how you use it to grade?
Just a quick question, Rachel. When you were looking at different options, you said that I use this rubric to publish grades or something. Should we click that or not?
Down here? Yes, if you're going to use the points, yep, and then use this one. Yep. This would be if you actually wanted to use this for your grading. So it would be an assignment that was out of 10 points. And as I clicked on the points, yep, I want them to know that they got 3 points here, 5 points here, and a total of 8 out of the whole thing. So yes, if you plan to show this to them, you definitely want to check that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll leave that one turned on so you can see it from there. Right. So this is why it's yelling at me. It's because the assignment was at 100 points and then the rubric's at 10 points. So like you have to do something here, like either change the assignment, leave them different, doesn't really matter, but the rubric is not matching the assignment. So you got to fix something. So I'll leave it different for now. And I'll actually just edit the assignment to be out of, instead of 100 points, to be out of 10 points. So then Canvas will be a little happier. So obviously I don't have any submissions on this one, so I really can't work on this one, but I'll show you my real class, what it looks like when they start coming in and how you can use this to grade. So what would happen is you would load over here in Speed Grader. So this is, let's go to like my Tommy Tester student here. Obviously they have not put anything in here yet, but pretend their paper loaded on the left. What I now have is the ability to view the rubric. Let me actually make this even bigger so you can see it more. I can always, sorry, my Zoom controls are always right in the way. So I read through their paper. I've decided to do my grading. What you do is you go through and you click on these and it will total the points down below. So right now this student has gotten 0 points, but I could say, all right, he was very good on APA style and weak on formatting. And it puts in the 4 and the 1 for me, and it totals that he's going to get a 5 out of 10. And since I'm using this for grading, he's actually going to get that. He's going to be like, okay, my grade was a 50. Sorry, that always pops up automatically. And then he will know right off the bat what he got. You also have the ability to put in feedback for each individual criterion. So I can use the little comments window and said, you know, please review citing books or something. Straightforward. So if I wanted to give them a specific piece of feedback towards this one criterion, I can do that. But you don't have to either. So like if everything else is fine, it's like, you know, you don't have to. And so that I would save this. And then he would get the grade of 5 out of 10. Mine are hidden right now because I have my gradebook set to a manual posting policy, but the student would see it like this. They would see, okay, out of APA style, I was very good. Out of formatting, I was weak. And then you can still put overall comments down at the bottom. So it's kind of handy. Like I said, it's a lot of work to kind of build it, but then when you go to do your grading, it's real easy because you can just sort of click, put in a few comments if you want to, and then move on to your next student. Any questions on that?
Just a quick question. Can we write some comment into the document on the left or not really?
Yep, so that's more of a speed grader question. So let me show you in a real class where I actually have some that are, I'll show you some of my students that have since graduated here. This is just a dummy class without anyone really in it. So let me pull up. So these guys are gone. I'll find somebody's paper. Yeah, I could use hers. Okay, so this was her original paper, obviously lows in the left-hand pane. And then her rubric, I've already graded these ones, they've already gone by. This one didn't have any points on it, I had removed them, and then I just put in the grade that they got because I don't like splitting hairs, like 94 versus a 92. So all of these icons up here are how you can make edits within. So like this is her whole paper, and you can see like I put like little boxes and little point comments throughout, you know, just as I edited through it. So it's not exactly the same as Microsoft Word, like where you have like track changes and all of that, but you can put in comments using like the little, I usually use the little balloons, and you can change the different colors if you want, like just drop it in here and put in a comment. I can also trash that. Another one I use a lot is boxing. So like if I had like, you know, this comment down here was really, really strong, I could draw a box around it and say like, okay, great point, like really nicely done here. Like I really like the sentence. So you can kind of focus their attention. And again, you can change the color of the box if you want to. So if you're kind of organized in that regard. I am not. And then a few other ones you have are to highlight, to insert text. So if I wanted to like actually like say like, okay, we were going to rephrase this to something else, I can put in the text. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the same, still in the box. Text here. I could put a type right in here if I wanted to, like, oh, change this paragraph, whatever the case may be. You have a little bit as far as like styling, like putting in a background and making it bigger or smaller, but it's not like you can change fonts too much or anything like that. And then you can strike through, and then this is sort of like a free frame, like circles, like if you wanted to like draw, essentially. I don't really know how to explain that very well. So it's not a lot of editing features, but it kind of gets what you need done as you're working in there. And then this little window kind of collapses and then comes out. So like you can make it bigger and smaller as you're like doing your grading. You want to see your full rubric, but when you're reading, you want to make it smaller so you can see the text bigger.
Highlight here. Can you highlight the text?
Yeah, you can highlight the text right here.
Oh,
so like if I wanted to go like right here, it would highlight it for me.
Okay.
And then you can still put a comment into where you highlighted. So like right here, you spelled receive wrong or something like that. You could still type in a message as well as highlighting. I like grading in SpeedGrader because I don't have to download a bunch of papers to my computer, make a bunch of changes and then re-upload them. And then I have all those files on my computer. Here, everything just sort of lives in Canvas. SpeedGrader, like anything in Canvas, auto saves every 3 seconds. So if something did happen and your computer crashed or whatever, it's been saved within the last 3 seconds. So that's really nice. The students can get their feedback as a PDF that they can download, and they'll have all of your little comments and flags and things like that where they can mouse over them and read them, or obviously they can just read it on the screen too if they want, but they do have the ability to take it like as a document if they prefer to have a piece of paper with everyone's feedback on it. So they're presented with 2 options there. Let me trash that. This is a real student. I don't know why she would log back in and look at her paper, but in case you did. So that's how SpeedGrader works. The grades, as she gets them, automatically go into the grade book. So like once I do this and I type it in there, I can put in some overall comments if I wanted to, and then I can see where it comes up into the grade book, but it goes into the grade book automatically. Another feature that's kind of handy if you find that you're grading a lot of papers and you're grading a lot of PowerPoints is you can use the text to speech if you don't want to like necessarily type the whole time. You can start recording your text. So Jessica, you did a really great job on this paper. Yeah, and I can stop and then it puts it in there. And it's still editable. So if it didn't quite grab what I said, I can change it before I submit the comment to her. But the text to speech, sometimes we end up giving them a lot of feedback that we would normally talk to them about, but we don't want to like write all of that by typing. So if you're just, sort of dictate, it can help you speed along your grading. Okay, like that. And can also do like video comments, media comments, and attaching files as well. I have used media comments before, like where it's just me, like my recorded voice explaining how they did really well, just like I'm talking right now. You can also do a video explaining it. And then I've also done it too, where I've like done a screencast video in Loom as I'm working through their paper and attach that to this as well. So there's other ways to give feedback besides just typing in comments. It's hard, especially in this online world, to always connect with them and make sure they understand what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. If you need a record of what you've written, you can always download the submission comments yourself. You can also download your annotated paper up here. So once you're all finished, if you're someone who likes having a copy of that, or if there's ever like an academic integrity issue and you need to share the annotated document with like the AIB committee, you can download that as well. I have had to do that myself, and it shows up quite nicely. So if there's any questions as far as academic integrity, they'll have all of your comments. So everybody's on the same page. That's pretty much everything that there is to do with rubrics, creating them and using them. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Just so you know that you can always change your grade posting policy. Actually, I'm going to do it over here. So like if you're working through a stack of papers and like you don't want their grades to be released to them automatically, you can make it into a manual grade posting policy, which I really recommend, by clicking on the 3 dots and changing your grade posting policy from automatic to manual. And then everything will be hidden by default until you post the grades and release them. Like especially like papers, it might take you a week to get through a stack of papers. So you'll want to keep that on a manual posting policy, get through everybody's, and then release them all at once. So that's just another little trick that might help you. All right, thank you for coming. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I hope you have a nice long weekend and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks.